thank Dr. Byrne for that very gracious introduction and for this wonderful opportunity to come here to Hofstra and have this opportunity to chat with you about some important matters. I want to thank Ms. Collins for her expert guidance through all of this, and to Dean Petrus for her wonderful presence, and to all of the other people who are responsible for pulling together this August occasion. And as Dr. Byrne said, we have been friends for quite a few years. She's gotten younger and even more astonishing in her intellectual breadth and her impressive presence. And I continue to admire her for her extraordinary capacity to be such a good teacher and to be such a remarkable counselor to young people as well. That is testimony to her great and wonderful gift and her sublime presence as a mentor to so many. So won't y'all give her another round of applause. Turn this microphone up. Can they turn this microphone up? Turn the volume up. So I'm honored to be here tonight because what I want to do is talk a bit about this theme of race, religion, and the American presidency, or the presidential race of 2016. Now, any one of those subjects is enough on its own to warrant great fear and trepidation. But to have the opportunity to chat about all three is especially inviting of our serious attention and regard. When I think about race and religion and the presidential campaign, I think about the fact that America has not done, despite our efforts and our intentions, a very good job of trying to grapple with the fundamental issue of race in America. That despite the hundreds of years of consternation and controversy, the bloodshed and violence, we have not been able to overcome the legacy of brutality, and we have not been able to honestly and openly, finally, confront some of the most damning issues of not only our day, but of American history in general. It has been said that slavery is America's original sin. And from that sin, we continue to suffer. Our inability to grapple with that past, our desire not to delve too deeply into the past of race. It gets real complicated. It gets funky real quickly. People get very nervous. We say we want to have a conversation on race, and yet we talk around it. People think they can't be honest. Many white brothers and sisters think that if they tell the truth about what they feel, they may be charged automatically with being racist. People of color feel that if they tell the truth, white folks' feelings get hurt and don't want to continue the conversation. And then in this nation, we are discouraged from engaging and grappling with that truth because the fragile dimensions of our social compact remind us that we hang together on thin threads, that so much of what is going on in our country is a reflection of our inability to not only tell the truth, but to engage in serious dialogue across many different differences. And then when you add religion into that, it gets even more complex. Because what do we mean by religion? Ligare, to bind together. The institutional framework within which identities of communities of faith take shape. And what do we mean about religion? Are we speaking about the formal declaration, the dogmas, the very basis of faith, the kerygma, the teachings, the discipline of what faith? Christianity? Islam? Are we speaking about Judaism? Are we talking about the religious impulse more broadly, where we consider all faiths, whether one is a Sikh or whether one is Hindu, whether one is Baha'i, whether one follows one's own path? And how does that play out? We say we respect all religions. The Second Amendment, the Disestablishment Clause, I should say, suggests to us that no one religion would be granted supremacy lest the tyranny we sought refuge from when we left British culture, and I'm saying we in the royal sense, because we's wasn't up in there. And when we left that particular predicament to become a nation, seeking relief from the not only taxing situation of the economy, but the inability to worship God as we sought. Didn't want the state to dictate to us what would occur. And so we grappled with a sense of religion in America that said no official religion would prevail. And yet here we are in 2016 with a lot of people thinking basically this is a Christian nation. It really ain't. By any measure, by our failure to live up to it, but most especially by our failure to understand what the founding fathers meant by Christianity and religion ain't what you mean. This is not your founding fathers' religion. They were part of what might be generally described as mechanistic deists. They believed that God wound up the world and let it go on its own power. There was no personality to intervene. There was no superpower in terms of a personality imposing his or her will. We say that God has no person, yet we keep calling God him. Right? So that conception of God is not what was necessarily the one that prevailed. To be sure, there were versions of that. Jonathan Edwards and others who talked about an angry God and the personal determination of a deity to be mad at his or her children and to remonstrate morally against them. There was enough of that hell, that brimstone and hell fire, to be sure. But the founding fathers had curious beliefs about religion, and those of us who attach ourselves to the founding fathers to show that we really have our bona fides, that we are legitimate, often miss the nuance and complication that would contradict their appropriation of the founding fathers' religion into their own mainstream. So race is complicated, religion is complicated, and the run for the presidency is sure enough complicated. And we live in a culture where it's important that our candidates prove that they got some connection with God on a speaking basis, or holler every now and again, or some are so arrogant they collect calls from God. We demand, whether or not it is true in their own personal lives in terms of their spiritual practice, that our presidents somehow exhibit a profound acknowledgement of a superior, super, above of the earth power. And it's called some presidents to just outright lie, make up what they doing, how often they go to church, what it looks like. And so it is the kind of extraordinary demand that our presidents exhibit this intimacy with the ultimate that leads us to judge them in a rather narrow sense. If one of our presidential candidates said basically, look, I'm good with God and everything, but, basically I don't really go to church. I don't hang out at the synagogue. I'm not with the temple. I just feel an internal pressure of conscience that motivates me to choose the right path. And in good and decent common sense, I embrace the moral alternative that seems more edifying in my own ethical vision. That may be the truth of the practice, but that cannot be the declaration of the principle. And so we demand a certain kind of religious fidelity on the part of our presidents, because if you're the most powerful person in this nation, and by extension as a result of America's place among the family of nations, the most powerful man up to this point, potentially woman soon, then we want you to have, we again being the rather general American public for whom I speak tonight, we want you to possess some kind of intimacy with the Almighty. We want to know that not only are you on speaking terms, but that some of those values penetrate your own principles, policies, and practices. Race, religion, and the American presidential race. How then do we speak about it? We live in what Gore Vidal called the United States of amnesia. Barbra Streisand supplied the theme song, I think, What's Too Painful to Remember, We Simply Choose to Forget. Thank God some of you know who Barbra Streisand is. Ain't got no Taylor Swift songs up in here tonight. Well, yes, maybe the religious figures wanted to shake it off. Players playing. And so, what's interesting about race is that we live in an era where whiteness itself, I wanted to have a smoother transition. But lo and behold, whiteness claimed my tongue, and now out came whiteness. It is difficult to speak about whiteness to white people because many white people do not know they are white. Now, white people are real smart. I'm not in general. Notable exceptions. Black people are real smart. Notable exceptions. Latinos, Asian, everybody. But what's interesting is that whiteness becomes an environment, a method of interpretation, an ideal, a goal. It becomes a culture, a race, an ethnicity that has been unmasked and remade. And many white brothers and sisters are not invited to think openly about their race. When we think race, we think black or brown or red or yellow. We don't think white. Whiteness is a political identity. But so is black and brown and red and yellow. Those are political identities. None of us match the colors we claim to be. Right? My color is not black, more yellow. And yet it's not about the epidermis fetish. It's not about the skin. It's about a political identity. And in America, whiteness has been a political identity that has been exempt from rigorous criticism. And whiteness has launched many a criticism of other racial and ethnic identities. You people are too sensitive. Why don't you stop talking about race? Why don't you just be American? Why don't you just behave in a certain way? I saw a comment by a prominent Detroit businessman after this last killing of a black man with his hands up and threatening nobody. He said on his Facebook, look, do what the cops tell you to do and you won't be dead. Another black man, again, disobeying. And on he went, the usual shibboleths, the usual arguments, the usual cantankerous engagement with black people as children, the paternalism that continues to dictate to us how we should behave when the reality is hands up, we get shot, hands down, we get shot. Run, we get shot, don't run, we get shot. Comply, we get shot, don't comply, we get shot. It is rather difficult to hear lectures from white brothers and sisters who are not similarly subject to the same kinds of practice in disproportionate numbers that we are. And it's difficult to ask white brothers and sisters to think about that. Difficult to ask white folk to even think about whiteness, not to get upset, even as I say whiteness, not to let your blood boil, not to let you get angry, not to let you get resentful or somehow distracted or think that I'm being attacking you. I'm not. I want to ask a question about how we operate, and in order to do that, we have to be honest about how race is operated. And we have to be willing to grapple with that and talk about privilege, speaking about religion, to whom much is given, much is required, my Bible says, which means if you got a bunch of stuff, you got to be willing to examine your own knowledge, conscience, and consciousness. If you've been given a lot, you got to give a lot. And if you're in control and charge, symbolically and collectively, not necessarily individually, you have to subject your position to scrutiny, and it's hard and it's difficult. Race is a tough assignment. Whiteness is itself made and fashioned. It's a fiction like any other racial assignment. It's not rooted in your biology. You're not born white. The society in which you live assigns value to your whiteness or blackness or being Latino or Latina, or whether you're red, brown, and yellow. It is assigned to you by the culture in which you live. These things are contingent and historical. They don't have rooting in biology. The anthropologists tell us there's no such thing as race, which means there's no such thing as white people. I know you're here. I feel you. Or black people, or brown, or red, or yellow people that we have made up ourselves. We have hoisted ourselves on our own fictional petards. We are creating novels in which we are the characters. And so we invent race as what we call a social construction. That's what the fancy theorists call it. Race is a social construct. Tell that to the driver out there in the cab where you're trying to get it. Please don't pass me by, Mr. Cab Driver. Race is a social construct. Mr. Policeman, don't shoot me. You're shooting at a figment of your imagination, a projection of your fear, but the bullets keep killing my ass. And so, race is complicated enough. Whiteness is often not asked to think about itself as a race, as black, brown, red, and yellow are. White people are not asked to think about race, get upset if they do because they think they're American. Many white people think we're just human. We're not white. Can't we all just get along? Can't we just be human? Stop the hyphenization. Stop the obsession. And then on the other hand, people of color say, we want to stop the obsession. We try to get out, you keep pulling us back in. We don't want to be reminded that we're black or brown or red or yellow, but people keep doing it. They call us names. They treat us differently. Our schools don't open the same way. We can't even vote. You love us so much you want to keep us from voting. Different practices, differential treatment. at the polls, coming up with all, if it wasn't a problem under George Bush, why would it be a problem under Barack Obama? We ask the question, not in terms of ideology, maybe pigment, maybe, why is it that it disturbs so many people that people actually get involved in the process of democracy? And to pretend it's something different, to pretend that a lot of the resistance to Obama ain't got nothing to do with nothing else, but that a brother in charge. Now, we got all kind of fancy distinctions. Yes, ideologically and politically, we're opposed to him. It has nothing to do with his race. It has to do everything with, if that's the economy? George Bush, the last one, W, might as well have been a Democrat in terms of all the money they spent, according to what Democrats are supposed to act like, right? If you mad at that, if you mad at changes in the Constitution, this is what the Tea Party said, George Bush wanted to change that thing more than Barack Obama. And if it's about the way in which the government is too much with the people, spending so much that it obscures the process of true governance and that the government has swollen, again, Mr. Bush could have been charged with that, but the Tea Party did not emerge under him. So there are some unconscious biases that flow out. And the rise of Donald Trump, who called Obama a birther, but the other day got religion. Now, what's amazing to me, and you can't be mad at Donald Trump. What's amazing to me about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump thinks that his word makes a difference. Are you an actuarial table manager? Are you an insurance adjuster? Are you a genealogist? Why do we give a damn whether you think Obama was born in America, as if you have skills to know? A whiteness that is impressed with itself, that believes it knows. Even other white people go, that's pushing it too far. And white folk go, if that's white, I'm black. George H.W. Bush announced today, I'm voting for Hillary. What in the hell? So, an impressed with itself whiteness that believes the dispensation of knowledge from its heart will make a difference. You're judging a man manifestly superior to you, sir. You tell us about your uncle at MIT, so guild by association, when Obama actually went to Harvard and Columbia. Wife went to Princeton and Harvard. They did it the way you said you want Negroes to do it. Get your education. They did. Speak well. They do. Act right. They is. And what we didn't say, oh, that will scare the hell out of some people and make some people just downright mad. If you ain't good enough, then they upset. If you're too good, then they mad at you. Speak the king's English to the queen's taste. And if you don't dig Barack Obama, ain't a brother been made you gonna really dig. Ain't no black man God can create that you gonna love more than Obama. He's nice. He don't get upset. He don't talk like me. He doesn't challenge white people on their whiteness. Not explicitly. He's too nice. He says, yes, we can. He looks at idiocy and lunacy and laughs at it. Every now and again, he slips into black vernacular. Yeah, keep popping off. He walks down Air Force One like he's got 50 Cent in the background. I don't know what you heard about me, but I can't get a dollar out of me. Many white brothers and sisters have other white brothers and sisters, and you know at the Thanksgiving party, you know the kind of stuff they say you too ashamed to repeat. You know the kind of vitriol and hatefulness you hear that you are stunned by in your own family, and Even when they're being nice, the metaphors, the analogies, the similes, the stereotypes, the hate, the ignorance that is stunning, that will be unmolested by enlightenment. You know? Don't raise your hand. I know you know. And so when you think about your family members and the people that you know intimately, think about the collection of millions of America that we have to deal with who believe the same thing, who get mad, who think that black people are taking your place. Where? Like we run and stuff. Where? Like we get more than you. Where? Like we're really in charge. The only place we in charge is in prison. And we ain't in charge there. We just got a bunch of people there. Question is, how many presidents have there been who were black? One. I know black people say there have been four. Look, bruh. If ain't nobody knew they was black, they ain't black. It don't count. You know, people, and I love my people. 6 people had black blood in them. We did not know. In the words of the great philosopher Sean Carter, we don't believe you. You need more people. How many CEOs of major American corporations? How many people run colleges? How many people of color in college? When you do the actual numbers, the exaggeration and panic of white brothers and sisters is out of proportion to any real, empirically verifiable challenge or threat. And so whiteness has fed on amnesia, been driven by moral panic, and has ultimately undone itself, undoes itself, undoes itself, unhinges itself, precisely because this is a kind of constructed whiteness that has become religion to some and principle to others. And in the midst of that, that whiteness has not served many working class and middle class white folk. What do I mean by that whiteness? That whiteness that is religion. I mean the way in which, regardless of the similarities between many and masses of many white brothers and sisters and black and brown people, for instance, that no matter the similarity, the common interest, the destiny we share on the same ship of fate, that many people are sold a bill of goods that at least they're not black or brown. The captains of industry, those who continue to be corporate titans, and others who manufacture and produce goods and services that export them and reap billions of dollars of advantage from them, do not have much in common with ordinary white people, or ordinary people of color for that matter. And yet the investment in whiteness as at least I'm not them, I'm better than, I'm different from, those people kill each other, those people are ignorant, those people have babies, those people are pathological. You'll be surprised how similarly pathological we all are. Some of us get on TV and get dogged, and some of us go under the radar. I was talking earlier with a student, wondering about why 93% of black people who are murdered by black people. Yes, that is distressing. But 84% of white people who are murdered by white people. People kill where they live. If you want integrated killing, you have to have integrated communities. Right? This was Dr. King's dream. I have a dream today that Americans will be able to kill each other in communities that are desegregated. What? Not his dream. The reality is, my brothers and sisters, is proximity murder. It is neighbor-to-neighbor carnage. They've done studies, white brothers and sisters who struggle and who are poor do the same thing, but they don't get talked about on television the same way. Oh, they get dismissed as poor white trash. The economic exigencies that they confront get redescribed culturally, and they are seen to perpetuate a legacy of shame and embarrassment before other well-meaning and well-intending white folk, the good white folk. And yet those millions of white Americans who are deemed as white trash don't see they got more in common with so many people of color than others. Because whiteness is held out as a possession that they should pursue, as a compensating virtue. Yes, you're not getting treated well. Yes, you don't have access to good schools. Yes, you will continue generation after generation to be poor, but at least you ain't black. That's not enough. Whiteness is a religion before which we bow, an altar before which we worship must be challenged. Jim Wallace talks about this in his book. His latest book on American religion and the idolatry of whiteness as our American original sin. And then those who challenge that whiteness, who think about it, who appropriate it, who distance themselves from it, whether they're white or whether they're other people of color, pay a price for that, and yet they're seen as outsiders. They're seen as somehow interrupting the natural flow. They're not seen as true Americans. So when we see Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, take a knee, you're not American. You're not legitimate. As one of your bright students earlier today told me, so many people in America pay money for you to make $20 million a year. And yet you are dishonoring those people who pay you. And I simply asked her, think about it. As black people, we pay taxes, which means we supplement police departments, which kill us. A guy not standing up for the national anthem seems to pale in comparison to the subsidization of your own oppression. Tupac Shakur said just the other day, I got lynched by some crooked cops, and to this day, them same cops on the beat getting major pay. But when I get my check, they taking tax out, so we're paying the cops to knock the blacks out. Now, we ain't mad at all police. We ain't walking around saying the police is evil. Ain't nobody called the police more than black people. So people on the left have theories about the abolition of police. Black people ain't supporting that. Black people do be calling the police. I'm calling the police on you right now, mama. We just want the police, when they show up, to know who the criminals are. But if you have pre-criminalized us, any herky-jerky move makes you suspicious, or just our breathing. Black man tells you up the road here in Staten Island, I can't breathe. How many languages does he have to say it in? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. But if you don't see him as human, the language he speaks will not compute. You don't have to get deep with Thomas Kuhn's notion of incommensurable vocabularies where people are speaking at odds against each other. You just have to see you don't see that person as meaningful. So his language doesn't translate even though it hits your eardrum. You don't believe him. You disrespect him. You disavow his legitimacy. And so Colin Kaepernick taking a knee offends white Americans. Really, were you offended when in World War II black soldiers went to the war and came back and got murdered because they wore a uniform? Were you upset in Vietnam when black soldiers fought for America and came back and didn't enjoy the same privileges that their white brothers and sisters? No complaint, no consternation on the part of white people saying, you know what, the rest of America is not patriotic. It doesn't affect you. You didn't see it. You don't care. It doesn't fall within your purview. And as long as the police treat you fine, you don't get the problem because they don't treat your kids that way. But if disproportionate numbers of white kids showed up in body bags, if they from Hofstra went out partying, as Hofstra students are capable of doing, besides being intellectually brilliant, radiant centers of academic pursuit, they get their swerve on. And if white Hofstra students kept coming back in body bags, murdered, they looked suspicious, hair too long, body tags too threatening, tattoos too bilious, bodies too poisonous, spirits too troubled, presence too threatening, and for no other reason they showed up as white, they were killed, suspected, murdered. I'm not saying white folk don't get treated like that, but not to the degree and not in the proportion as African American and Latino people. So all I'm arguing is that we think about this seriously. It doesn't make a difference because it doesn't affect us. And so, my brothers and sisters, Colin Kaepernick taking a knee is rather heroic to many of us who believe that even if you're rich, you ought to be able to have a conscience and speak for those, if you've got a platform, who don't have the platform. And a lot of white brothers and sisters think it's a shame, even on 9/11. Jiminy Cricket, we know on other days we can make exceptions, but gosh darn it. The hell are you talking about? On 9/11, let's take that head on. What 9/11 showed to us is that not many black people died on the police or the fire force because most of them couldn't get jobs in the same proportions. Hard but true. Beyond that, I asked the young lady who asked me the question today, what about if on 9/11 the police showed up and instead of protecting you, they shot you? Who then would be the terrorist? And if you think about what terror is, they hate us because of who we are. No matter what we do, they keep trying to bomb us and shoot us and kill us and stab us and blow us up because they think we have offended their sense of propriety, that somehow we have attacked them and assaulted them, and now they are forever sworn to murder and kill us. Terror, no matter where we are, at a place in Chelsea or over in New Jersey or in Paris, in the Western world, the fight is on. Imagine what it means to be a person of color under American terror, where crosses were burned in lawns, where black people were lynched, where postcards were sent out to have a picnic to celebrate it. That's a history. You say that's ancient history. How about film of black people complying with the police and still dying? And is sassiness a capital crime? I stood the other day in front of Ben's Chili Bowl in Washington, D.C. Late at night, about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I was out doing some research. There is no end that I will go for you, my people. I'm a sociologist. It's what I do. And so I'm out looking at the rituals of engaged physicality on the dance floor. And I'm out there, and a young white man is going whole hog at the police, cussing them out. I'm just bleeping everything. And my first instinct was, oh my God, they're going to shoot that poor boy. And then I said, oh my God, they're not. Young white man. You know what the police said? Now, son, you're clearly inebriated. You need to go home. He's swinging on them. They're holding him back. He's cussing. They're listening to him. Can we just get that? That's all we're asking for. The presumption that sometimes you do stupid stuff or stuff that's young or stuff that's adolescent, that many white brothers and sisters would be so criminally insensitive that they would say, you deserve to be killed because you ran, and the reason we run is because we know we scared when we see police, or we got something we shouldn't have, and that doesn't mean we should die. How many white people who go to parties and concerts and get drunk and blasted and wasted, by that measure, should be dead? The blindness and the willful innocence and rage of that whiteness blocks out the possibility of thinking. And therefore, a person like Donald Trump becomes a walking human megaphone. For all the white rage, the white anxiety, the white panic, the white fear that they are losing, that we are gaining on them, that America is lost, bring America back. Where did it go? Make America great again? From what? What era are you going to go back to re-describe greatness in America? Was it the 1950s when Negroes knew their place? Was it when women couldn't vote? When was America great like you think it was? And it deserved to be. When you said at one of your rallies, Mr. Trump, well, you know, back in the day, they would just take them out and whip them. Sounds a little bit too slavery-ish for me. A little bit Jim Crow-ish, I hope you don't mind me saying. And so, with the sexism and the patriarchy and the xenophobia, Donald Trump begins to amplify as a figure some of the anxiety that America feels around the issue of race. This man, who is the nominee for the presidency, spent years denying the legitimate birth of the sitting president. Now, I'm not suggesting at all. Some white people think, well, you mean if you criticize Barack Obama, you're racist? No, then I would be one of the biggest racists around. If you read my book, I have criticism for the president. You heard me love him tonight. I give him love. I always start with love. I always start with recognition. But I got serious critique of the president. So I don't believe anybody who criticizes Obama is a racist. I'm saying that so many people who criticize him in the fashion and nature that they do are racist because they're calling him a simian, an ape, a monkey, an orangutan, a cipher. You can criticize him, but do you have to say some of the nasty stuff you say? And does some of the nastiness that pop up, that bubbles up beneath the surface, have nothing to do with race? It has everything to do with it, and yet we are intent upon denying it. This makes it difficult then for us to grapple with some of the serious issues we confront as a nation, so that race and religion and the presidency seem to converge precisely at the moment where we are incapable as a nation of dealing with difference. And then we see some of these narratives duplicated in these communities of color that begin to absorb some of the resistance to difference. A lot of black folk who were religious were mad at Obama when he came out in support of gay marriage. And I'm like, black people, can we really afford to be mad at anybody on marriage? Now, that's just, you ain't even got to have a patriarchal conception of the nuclear family. You're just talking about togetherness, however you constitute it. And so black folk get mad at gay marriage, and I'm like, I don't know if you realize or not, but black people were frowned upon too for our marriages. Couldn't even get married in slavery, had to jump a broom to show some official cognizance of togetherness. And then if people of different races wanted to get married, black folk and white folk were breaking the law to come together. So how is it that we then turn around and get upset at gay marriage? It's pretty funny. And so when I go to black churches, I just repeat, I say, you know, I've never been to a black church that turns down gay tithes. As I said earlier, the only funny money they don't want is change. Black people go, how dare they compare themselves to us? You're not the same. You can hide being gay. I can't hide being black. Some of y'all do a pretty good job. Clarence Thomas is faking this out. And he can't be missed. Why is it that some of the most obvious black people think nobody notices that they're black? Simone Biles, I love her. She says, I don't think about race, but other people do. And they see you. And why can't you be both proud to be an American and also to represent black people who think it's great because we don't see many athletes doing what you do? Right? It's Simone Manuel. The stereotype is black people can't swim. Okay, I can't. But what I'm saying is that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a living stereotype. Forgive me. What can I tell you? And so, what's interesting is that black people then who get upset that they would dare compare themselves, why don't you get flattered that somebody wants to take your movement and replicate it? Like you were so dope with what you did, they want to do the same thing. You ain't got no copyright on it. How dare they take my movement? When did you go to the license of bureau and like get the copyright, send it to yourself in the mail? Civil rights movement, mine. Did Martin Luther King Jr. pay copyright and royalties to Mahatma Gandhi? Henry David Thoreau? My brothers and sisters, when I think about black people who get upset, I say you got to think more critically, more insightfully. You got to be more open-minded. Don't replicate the same kind of worship of your particular ideals. Don't make religion out of your racial identity in a way that you cannot fashion a complicated response to a particularly troubling and disturbing phenomenon. Mad at the president because he supported gay marriage, turned the White House the rainbow colors when the decision came down. Now, I did have a little envy there. I was looking for red, black, and green to pop up on that screen. Then the president come out, Rafiki Wakumba. That ain't gonna happen. I've been told maybe the last day, we'll see. Last day, Obama might come out, what? I've been faking for 8 years. I'm tired of this shit. I'm a black man. I'm gonna show you what I got. I'm Superman. I'm Super Negro. But alas, that will not occur. So black folks say, well, they chose to be gay. Really? How do you choose that? At what point how do you choose to be heterosexual? If you choose to be gay, you must choose to be heterosexual. What do you do at 13? Say, hey, Ma, I've looked at all the options. And some of that stuff is just a pain in the ass. Thank you very kindly. And I've chosen the straight path. I'd like a car and a black book, and at 16, I'd like you to support my habit of talking to females. Is that how it goes? Do you make a choice consciously, or are you born in a culture that tells you what's right and wrong? Religious narratives that give you a sense of who you are, that tell you what's legitimate and beautiful and acceptable, that God has blessed and not frowned on. And those frownings of God, those blessings of God are deeply and profoundly shaped by the culture in which we live. Isn't it interesting? Why doesn't God break through some homophobic culture with an announcement that homophobia is wrong? If God is independent of your culture, community, language, why is it that that is the case? And so black folk who say, well, the word says, the word? The same word that said you were a slave, obey your master. The same word that was used to keep you in place. I'm almost done. And so it is apparent to me, or as a Latino person and Hispanic American with cultures of machismo, that we possess, all of us as people of color, and the way in which we delegitimize people who are gay as not really men or lesbian, not really women, and you're not really brown or black. And then project onto our president, the one now standing, a kind of resentment because of his openness to them. We have to ask ourselves, what beliefs do we nurture? What understanding of religion do we have? and what faith informs what we think about the politics that should prevail. Because regardless of your particular religious identity, there are public policies that should prevail that protect the ability of citizens to make choices. Not simply about race, we could talk about gender and women's bodies as well. And they do intersect. And then we think about the fact that people who are gay or lesbian or transgender or bisexual or queer are marginalized. The beauty of the Black Lives Matter movement is that they challenge that homophobia, and they challenge the way in which we have bought a sense of amnesia to understanding our politics. And speaking of religion and worship and whiteness as ideology and idolatry, what about the variety that treats Barack Obama as secularly sacrosanct? As a saint and an apostle of a certain kind of blackness that can't be interrogated, can't be criticized. Black folk complain about white worship of Reagan and the inability to acknowledge that he could be human, and we do the same thing with Obama. Now, I realize that if you got 43 presidents on your side versus having one brother, it's hard. And then many white brothers and sisters remind us, he's half us. So we only got really half a brother. So black folk go, I don't care, I'm riding with him till the wheels fall off. Obama can roll my mama over. I'm going to say, Mama, you were wrong. Just wrong. You saw that Saturday Night Live show with Kerry Washington and others, and they come on and they're critical journalists and so on, and no. And then everything they do, they agree with Obama. What about if you're a religious person, right? Yes. Obama proves to be an atheist. Okay. Would you still not vote for him? No, I'd still vote for him. So there's something about that intangible charisma that Obama possesses, that Weberian conception of charisma in terms of the authority he wields. And yet we have not been able as black people in America, because of our racial fidelity and loyalty, to challenge Obama in terms of his treatment even of black people. Under Obama's 14 to 16% black unemployment, had there been a white president, we would have been out of order. Down now to 8.1%. American unemployment more generally is down to about 4.9%. Latino unemployment halfway between black and white unemployment. And so we would have challenged Obama. We would have challenged him when he said, I'm not the president of black America. What does that even mean? Did we think we were electing the president of the NAACP? Obama has been disrespectful to black people in public to show white people that he could control the Negroes of whom he is a part. Hate to say it that blatantly, but time has passed, and I got to be straight and blunt. So Obama proves his fidelity to a certain kind of race-transcending conception of democracy by remonstrating, by ethically reproving black people in public, going to Morehouse College and speaking to those kids as if they were graduating from detention. Nobody, he said, will care whether or not you are black, and racism has besieged you in a global economy. You must be prepared and make no excuses. They are graduating, sir. They have made none. What you have not earned, you will not get. The only person who got an unearned degree that day, sir, was you. He went to Columbia, more specifically to Barnard. Did he give the same speech to young white women disproportionately? No one will care about your cries of sexism in a global economy. You have not got what you have not earned. No, he did not say that. He can't afford to tell white folk that kind of truth. And so we as African American people have religiously associated a kind of secular sainthood with this apostle of greatness, politically speaking, which I agree with in terms of his greatness, but not in terms of him being exempt from the rigorous criticism we ought to apply to every president. And that inability to tell the truth about Obama, because we're fearful that if we tell the truth about Obama in this contagiously toxic environment, it will be used against him. But guess what? And people say, if he speaks about race, he gets assaulted. He gets assaulted if he says the sky is blue. He says up, they say down. He says wet, they say dry. He says left, they say right. They don't like you. And it took him too long to understand that, to stand with people who do love you, who do support you. When Newtown went down, Obama showed up. When Hurricane Sandy showed up, he showed up. When Flint, Michigan occurred, it took him months. Chicago, where he is from, he took his time. This is ugly for us to face. We will not face it. We are collectively deluded as black people, failing to comprehend that this beautiful, powerful, engaging figure has also been completely and interestingly flawed on specific issues. But a kind of secular sainthood that attaches to him, a religious belief that God has set him apart for times such as this, has also exempt him from the rigorous criticism to which he should be routinely subject. And so as I end here, we are left, of course, with Trump, Obama, and now, of course, Hillary Clinton. A lot of people, mad at Hill. And I don't know about you, but the sexism against her is pretty remarkable to me. I'm not saying you can't be critical. You just heard me say all this stuff. You can be critical of Hillary Clinton if you think she doesn't connect. But not connecting has a lot to do with what your perception of how women should connect anyhow. If they're in control, they're the B-I-T-C-H-O. You know. So then you're mad. Oh, my God. If she speaks loudly, she's a shrew. What? Stop screaming. Okay, Bernie Sanders, anybody ever heard of him? Anybody ever heard of Donald Trump? They're both screamers. I promise you. And we're going to get it right. Hillary Clinton shows up. Hello. Oh, my God, I can't take it. I sat at the table with a guy that tried to explain to me how women's vibrations get to the eardrum physically. I was like, stop, dude. You stop. Stop. I don't want to throw my knife at you. Seriously, stop. I just don't. I don't want to take my fork and stab you right now. The spirit of OJ is in me. I don't want to drop a drug on you. The spirit of Bill Cosby's in me. And the people said, I'm sorry, allegedly. Tried to tell me that the physical speech of women was somehow reaching a decibel, like a dog, I guess. Right? I mean, look at this. And if she acts with a certain, why didn't she tell us she had pneumonia? Well, why do you think she didn't tell you? Because you already think she's 69, she's about to teeter over. So women can't even afford to tell the truth. Yes, I've had a bout of pneumonia, I'd like to recover. Oh my God, she's incapable. And yet the mental distress that other candidates show from working so hard seems not to make them appear to be vulnerable at all. So women have to be superhuman. They have to multitask. They have to do it in a way that doesn't insult men while being superior to the men. Women have been doing that from the very beginning. Outthinking, outacting, outbehaving men, and at the same time pacifying that collective fragile male ego. She must believe in God to put up with that madness, right? That don't mean that Hillary Clinton is perfect. She's got her imperfections. We should examine them. But at the end of the day, the way in which she's spoken about race so clearly and passionately, I think that she'll be a better president for people of color than Obama. Not because she knows more or could do more, but because she's freer to do more, right? Finally got to clap on the Obama stuff. She's freer to do more because white privilege offers her the opportunity to behave black in a way Obama can't. I get that, right? Bill Clinton could play a saxophone. Nobody thought about him as a stereotype. If Obama comes out spitting, yo, I got a couple verses for you. Y'all been hollering at me since I've been the president. Watch when I ain't no longer the resident. I'm going to kick your ass and talk about your president because it won't be me, B. I got bars like Drake. Okay. I'll Meek Mill ya, kill you, do like the game and kill you again. Oh, anyway. I pimp pages, turn metaphors to better whores to serve sages like Socrates and Plato. My name Obama, I killed Osama, I'll kill you too. While Trump was laughing, I was doing the gassing. I was knocking him out while he was talking them through his mouth. Okay, but anyway. He can't do that. So she has permission to behave in a certain way, but she also has the freedom to enact policies, not feel-good therapeutic interventions, my brother's keeper, but policy that makes a difference. And to speak honestly, as she has, about asking white people to carry their burden when it comes to race. Obama can't say that, and he ain't inclined to say that. I don't even know if he believes that. And so, as I end, race, religion, and the presidency are complicated. They intervene, they interact, they intersect. Our choice is to think critically about our lives in relationship to them, what they say about us, our choices, what they echo and amplify, what they reinforce and what they stifle. And our choice is to choose not a Messiah. You know, people say, especially my friends on the left, oh my God, I can't choose anybody. Dude, then you're choosing the status quo. Right? We ain't trying to elect a Messiah here. It's just the president. And in that sense, if you really believe in social change, don't reduce the complexity of politics to electoral politics. Keep working. And so when those candidates come here in a week or so, think about that as the backdrop to what they say. And make your choices based upon your clear-eyed assessment and your conscientious response to the best ideals of democracy that we have been able to put forth. Thank you so very kindly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dyson. We have time for about 15 minutes of questions. First from students, please, and then we'll open it up a little bit more. But students, you are first up to ask Dr. Dyson any questions. Please come to this microphone or that microphone. Students, any questions, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Dr. Dyson?
How you doing, man?
Two questions. One, what do you think of the mass incarceration of black people during the Clinton administration? And two, do you think Hillary is pandering to black people to get their votes during her campaign?
Thank you. What do I think about mass incarceration under the Clinton administration? Do I think Hillary is pandering to black people to get their votes? Bill Clinton was president, not Hillary. I know a lot of people mad. They see the super predator and stuff. But I don't think she was in office. I might be wrong. I don't think she was in office then, right? Now, she was the first lady, and she said some stuff. Are we going to hold Michelle Obama accountable for Barack because she gave a great speech at the convention? I'm just asking. Because if that's going to be the standard, we got to go back and reread what Nancy Reagan said. Just say no. Did she create drug policy? Now, she legitimated a certain kind of feeling. I'm not denying that. And she's a culturally significant figure. And so Hillary Clinton is a culturally significant figure who reinforced what her husband believed. And by the way, a lot of the Congressional Black Caucus who signed on to that bill, right? Now, her use of super predators, she's already admitted that was wrong. Look, John DiLulio, Princeton and Penn, who came up with that, it was madness when he came up with it. It was madness when the Clintons said it, right? So there's no doubt that that's problematic. And again, though, as the First Lady, to judge Hillary according to public policy efficacy is efficacy. F-U-C. So what's interesting, okay, I'm trying to avoid that. So the reality is that I think that while she reinforced prevailing stereotypes that should be noted and she should be held accountable for as a public figure, not as a political figure. Bernie Sanders voted for that bill, by the way, right? And Jesse Jackson gave a tremendous testimony before Congress and said it was going to be messed up. Jesse Jackson that a lot of y'all don't like and don't think about and don't want to know. A lot of young black people don't even know his name, what he did. Americans, he's one of the greatest Americans we produce. In my mind, top list of black leaders, Martin Luther King Jr., Frederick Douglass, Jesse Jackson. That's how much work he put in. That's what he did. He'll be dead for 10 years before you realize what he did. So he spoke against it. A lot of black people spoke for it. Bill Clinton said, black people told me that this crack cocaine is so deep and it was messing up so many communities that I want to outlaw it even more than powder cocaine, because powder cocaine doesn't have the ability physically to bewitch black people and mess up the culture so deeply. So let's not put it in a vacuum. It's in a particular context, right? The political economy of crack is operating. You know, you got all these crack movies and New Jack City, right? Remember Wesley Snipes, Christopher Williams, pretty there, right? And we looking at those bags, and Chris Rock was just rocked out, looked crazy. This is the culture of the time. This is the temper of the times, as Eric Hoffer would say. So we got to put that in context. But having said that, I criticized him in my Malcolm X book. I criticized him in my Martin Luther King Jr. book because I thought what he did was destructive. He signed the crime bill. He signed welfare reform. And what he did against Lonnie Guinier and Jocelyn Elder and Sister Soldier was a trifecta of demonology of black women, right? Sister Soldier, he played her. You know she didn't mean what you act like she meant. She wasn't talking about killing no white people. She was doing a thought experiment. Like you took it to the extreme, like she wants to kill white people. You knew better than that. You go to Jesse Jackson's place to diss him on his own home territory, to show white suburbia, I'm not going to be controlled by the head Negro in charge. And then Lonnie Guinier is your friend from school. You don't even stand by her side. Stand by your appointee. Y'all don't even get that, do you? Stand by your man. See what I'm saying? This generation, what's wrong with you? Google the song. So, and then with Jocelyn Elders, he fired her from being what? Surgeon General, because she what? Talked about masturbation? Dude, had you listened to her, wouldn't have been no blue dress up in there. I ain't judging. That's what your generation says. Don't judge me. I ain't judging you, but had you listened to her and taken things into your own hand, no extra charge for any of these jokes, I'm just telling you. So Bill Clinton did some funky things. Also did great things with the economy. Also had more black people in his cabinet than Barack Obama. So, and what's interesting, why is it that Obama took so long to act with his executive power on all these commutations and stuff? Let's not just press Bill Clinton. Let's ask the dude there now. I mean, you've done 80, 100. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 20, 50, 60, 80, 100 million left. You know, I'm exaggerating, but it's a lot more left. It's thousands and thousands of people left. You know, what about your policies? What about your sensitivity to this issue? Again, afraid to talk and touch blackness because he would then be read as somehow hooking his people up. I get it, but if that's the case, why did you want to be president? That's why Hillary Clinton could do more for us. It would have made more sense for us to vote Hillary in because she wouldn't have been radioactive, she wouldn't have been ashamed, she wouldn't have been white privileged, or you would have been lacking white privilege and you wouldn't have been lacking it, but you would have been lacking it and she wouldn't have. And so my point is, we voted for you because you're supposed to be everybody's president, including ours. But black people take that abuse. I'm not the president of black America. You are the president of black Americans. We're citizens. Our needs are American needs too. What about our unemployment? What about our death? What about our poisoning? So I think it's very important to address that, and what Bill Clinton did was problematic. He's admitted it himself by now. But hindsight is critical, although some people tried to oppose it then. Hindsight has really been especially helpful in talking about the over-incarceration of African American and Latino people. In terms of pandering, it's about time somebody pandered to us. The hell. If what Trump is doing, if that's called non-pandering, pander to me. And as they might pronounce it in New York, I'm a pander. Panda bear, you know, so pander, you know, like New Yorkers say, I saw. What? Oh, you saw. I saw. So, pander, what does that mean? How you gonna win? If I ignore you, then I'm dogging you. If I speak to your issues, then I'm pandering. The hell? Now, pandering could mean that you're not serious about it, that you're only saying it to get a vote, to manipulate it. But I would ask you to go back and look at her history. She's been on that path for a minute. She's been on that path for a long time. You might disagree with her, but Hillary has been doing her work since she was in law school at Yale, when she repented for being a Goldwater Republican. And she changed, right? Hillary Clinton worked with the Children's Defense Fund. She worked on behalf of poor black people in the Delta. She's been doing work for 35 years. So I don't think there's any pandering at that level. I would challenge those who would suggest that. And I would say, what's the exact calculus here? What's the metric by which we judge whether it's pander or attention? I wish Obama would have pandered. I wish Trump would pander. Right? You going to church one day with a shawl on, that ain't pandering. Right? That ain't it, dog. So my point is, I don't think she's pandering at all. But for those, I know millennials are suspicious and skeptical, and I'm saying at the end of the day, I get it, but what you gonna do? What choices do we have? Vote for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson? He don't even know where Aleppo is. And this shows you that if you get a good liberal education, you would have known Aleppo. You would have read Othello. Soft Jew, a word before you go. I have done the state some service, and they know it. And when you speak of me, speak of one who loved full wisely, but not too well. And say that in Aleppo once. There it is. There she is. Aleppo. Othello. Okay? Shakespeare. Get your stuff together, homie. You could be libertarian, but damn sure have a liberal education and understand what you're saying. So that's my thought on that. Thank you, sir.
Yes, how are you, Mr. Dyson?
How are you, sir?
All right, good. Back in my parents' day, the black church was such a main part of our movements. Mm-hmm. But today, it doesn't seem to be like that. So my question is, what role do these mega churches play in that absence?
Yeah, it's a great point. But let me tell you something. What's the woman's name? Stephanie, I can't think of her last name now, historian, who writes about the nostalgia at Greenwood, out in Olympia in Wisconsin. Somebody will Google her. Stephanie something, her last name. She writes about the American family. Stephanie Coontz, thank you. Thank you. She didn't even have to Google it. She knew it. There it is. So Stephanie Coontz is arguing that we have been nostalgic about what happened and it ain't really happened. And we talk about the black church. The black church resisted Martin Luther King Jr. That's the black church, right? But the masses of them I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about J.H. Jackson and the National Baptist Convention. So much so, King had to go with a splinter movement out of the National Baptist Convention to the Progressive National Baptist Convention around 62, 63. So the black church was deeply and profoundly conservative from the get-go, right? It was only the small remnant of the prophetic black church. The black church prophetic tradition ain't never been dominant. It's been visible. The most famous preachers have Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King Jr., William Gray, Prathia Hall, a lot of progressive preachers, but on the real, for real, most of them have been the pie in the sky and spiritual traditions and disciplines. I ain't mad at the spiritual traditions and all that. But, hey, why are you bringing those politics into the church? My God, that's not what we're here for. So Dr. King was already an outlier. Right. And in fact, the Ford Foundation sponsored a meeting of black preachers about a month or two before King died. And King said, some of y'all are more interested in the wheelbase on your automobile than the poverty of your congregation. He might as well have been talking right now. But he was talking then, because the church ain't changed that much. Right. So yes, we had the fans with King, and after somebody gets killed, we all celebrate him. Oh my God, he was great. But when he was alive, it was tough. Yeah. He was taking us in a different direction. So you're raising an extremely important point. But that prophetic remnant is here now. Freddie Haynes is one of the great preachers who's continuing that tradition out in Dallas. And Father Flager, white man, who's black on the south side of Chicago. Jeremiah Wright, God bless him. Mm-hmm. So there are many traditions. There are many people who are carrying that tradition, but it's hard. Right. It doesn't pay as well. Yeah. You don't have the big, they got some big churches, but the mega church, when you bringing in millions because you popping that, feel good and do good and kumbaya and the prosperity gospel and so on, and Lord wants you to get paid and your name prefo dollar. For real? Really? That's what you are? It becomes difficult. Right. So I think that we have to, you're right though, we have to hold that church to account, and we have to hold it in tension with the prophetic traditions that we promote and preach, but they have always been on the margin.
Very true.
Thank you, sir. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, how do I and how do white people contribute to the conversation about racial equality and the movement towards racial equality without coming across as white saviors?
Right. Yes, ma'am. Oh, very good question. Although, again, if Donald Trump is the other side, I'm down with the saviors. But what's interesting, but you're right, we don't want saviors, right? We want people who are allies. As one, I think it was Brittany Packman said, even accomplices, right? And first of all, and thank you for that question, I think just by white folk having a measure of comfort about speaking about race, right? That's the first thing. Like, let's talk about the elephant in the room, pink or brown or white, whatever it is. Let's at least honestly confront it. So that's beautiful, number one. And then number two, I think that engaging the racial hostility we see around us, one thing Obama would say a lot when he would say, hey, black people ain't making this up now. Because people just think, we're just at home making shit up. Just let me see, what can I say to make white people think that racism is still here? Oh, yeah, they're killing us in the street. Okay. He says that we're not making it up. So if we could reinforce the value of what people say, that it's legitimate, that they have a real concern, I think that's extremely helpful. Thirdly, to be as educated as you can be about these issues. And you clearly are, helping others to do the same thing. Let's get informed. Let's talk about white saviors. Let's talk about white fragility, as Robin DiAngelo speaks about it. Let's talk about how white people keep people from telling them the truth by saying, you're going to hurt my feelings, don't do it, stop. Or saying, you're exaggerating, microaggressions, what the hell is that? Political correctness. I think political correctness now means that you can be a bigot like you used to be without being held accountable. That's political correct, that's what it is. Now, I'm not saying, because I believe in a raucous classroom, as you might not be able to tell. So I believe white students, black, everybody should be able to say what they got to say. Don't assume they're racist. Don't assume that they're reaction. Let's let people talk. It's a safe space in that sense. But it doesn't mean I'm going to protect you from your classmates who might think you crazy. But I'm going to say, don't think they're crazy, let them talk, and let's hash it out. And then finally, not finally, Bill, another thing, I think is that if white brothers and sisters among yourselves, right, as people say, speak among yourselves. And what I mentioned earlier at the Thanksgiving table, I don't expect you to go, hey, Granny, it's kind of rough what you're rocking there right now, because she's still paying your tuition, so don't be crazy. Wait till you graduate to show that knowledge. Until such time, sell out. No, what I'm saying is, you got to get that degree first, baby. But you got to challenge white folk where they are, where they exist. When ain't nobody around, when they're having real conversations. Because many white people don't speak in public. You're one of the few brave. Thank you very much. But a lot of white people don't necessarily talk in public because they don't want to be seen as racist. And if they make a mistake, they don't want to go like somebody jump down their throat. What the hell are you talking about? Right? They don't want to get jumped on, and I understand that. So they remain silent because they don't want to say the wrong thing. So we have to work to create a safer place where people can tell the truth about what they believe, but we also want to have a reasonable challenge to blindness and innocence and belief that will work. So one of the things that can happen is that white people could speak in peers, among peers, to challenge some of the blindness, some of the ignorance, some of the hostility that occurs. So that they're going to hear from you in a way they can't hear it from me. You're going to say it more eloquently. You're younger, you're hipper, far better looking. I'm sure more lucid. And they're going to hear it from you in a way they're not going to hear it from me, right? And even though I'm a funny guy, I'm lovable and irresistible. All white people I know, you'll be surprised, don't think that. I can tell by the letters they call me. Dear nigger. Fuck you and go back home. I was like, that's not nice. I mean, mama, stop writing those. Oh, that's not my mother. Okay, that is time. So they're calling me names. They're demonizing me. They're telling me I'm trying to corrupt their kids. Now, that part is true. Because I'm trying to corrupt young white kids as much as I can. Corrupt them out of that incorruptible, belief structure. It's got to be corruptible at some point. I want to challenge narrowness and bigotry and blindness and horizons that are closed. I don't mind saying that. Yes, I'm here to explode that stuff. But not just among young white kids. I do it among young people, period. And this is what I do. I'm a paid pest. That's my job. And so, in that sense, if you share with others, educate yourself, tell the truth as much as you can, help other white people tell the truth about race, understand that whiteness is a racial formation as well that needs to be talked about, then it's not about savior, it's about ally. Then when you become a full partner, you can challenge even some other people of color. Just because you're born black or brown don't mean you know black or brown, and yes, you have certain experiences, but one of the most vicious effects of white supremacy is to convince people of color they don't have to study their own history. Hey. Stop. There's stuff, I'm 57 years old, stuff I'm just learning right now about black. Like, wow, really? I ain't even know that. So let's be a little bit more humble about that. And then when we do so, allies are not saviors, but they become accomplices to help us challenge it. And we'll talk a little bit after it now. We'll exchange information. We'll talk more. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
So my question is kind of about your observation of millennials. When
I'm speaking to the microphone so I can hear you.
My question kind of, I'll just do this. That's fine. But initially when Congressman John Lewis had voiced his support for Hillary Clinton, I noticed a lot of people in my age group we're very quick to say that he's a sellout for some reason, and that,
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton's racist, and then pledge their support for Bernie Sanders. I don't. But where do you think that shift as far as my generation versus older Black Americans kind of happened, where I just feel like there isn't as much knowledge maybe amongst my generation, that they were very quick to call John Lewis of all people a
Right.
sellout.
Yeah.
Where do you think that
Yes,
comes
ma'am.
from?
And what's your age group? How old are you?
18.
18. Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right. Represent. You're doing a good job. Got your cousins back here. I see. What's up? That's a very good point. It's very sweet, and it's very honest, and it's very genuine. Look, first of all, it's hard to be young, to be tasked with making big decisions, leading movements like Black Lives Matter, 17, 18, 19, 20, called into existence as a result of horrible, catastrophic events. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. But then again, when you think about it, throughout history, they've always been young, right? John Lewis and them, they were young too. Can you imagine when you grew up, DeRay McKesson, he's a sellout. DeRay, when DeRay's like 60, he's still tweeting. Oh, Twitter is so old. They'll have something new then. I can't even think about what it would be called. Glitter. Global intelligence through Twitteracy. And it doesn't mean you can't disagree as a young person with an older person, but to so quickly resort to sellout from a guy who got his ass beat so that you could tweet. Right? I know that rhymed. I didn't mean it to, but I'm going to throw that in a rhyme. He got his ass beat so you could tweet. And now you defeat the very guy who said you could tweet. So the thing is that John Lewis, an American hero, an iconic figure, doesn't mean he can't be criticized. Doesn't mean you can't say, Congressman Lewis, I love you, but I disagree. But to call him so immediately a sellout, why are we so quick to do that? To judge, and you said, I've been called one, but look, sell out to what? Bought into what? Sell out why? How you measuring it? But see, I'm going to snap back at you. I'm going to clap back. Because if you bring it to me, be prepared to receive it. I'm a quarterback and a receiver. And I will punt it. So, not nastily, but vigorously, because I think young people should be respected and challenged. Respected because you're inheriting an impossible world with an impossible duty to change a world that your elders have screwed up. And so I love and admire your vigilance. To dismiss John Lewis is a bit harsh because he supports Hillary Clinton. To dismiss Hillary Clinton to me is harsh. Now there's a huge, as you know, gulf and abyss. Older black people, I guess I'm joining their crowd now. I'm young. I am in my mind. So older black people down with Hillary Clinton, millennials, not so much. I ain't mad, I understand that. And I hope we can overcome that gulf. But I would hope millennials would understand that given the available politics, what it means to grow up and be an adult is you don't get everything you want. It doesn't turn out that way. Even when you vote, people screw up. Even people you like do the wrong thing sometimes. So to quickly dismiss a figure like John Lewis is tragic to me, not because he can't be criticized, he should be, but it's because we don't have a sense of the history. Your point about knowledge. Twitter, Facebook, people think they know everything just because they read it on social media. And then when I drop a 10,000 word piece, oh my God, it took me days. What? 10,000 words takes you days? Don't come to my class, homie. Please. Because you got to read. Got to develop those intellectual chops. I know a lot of young people do that. A lot of older people don't. But I'm saying social media has made us believe it's instantaneous. It's right here, right now. What I love about social media, what it used to take a lot of footwork and spade work, no pun intended, to do when you went to the library, now you can archive a big old article and look up stuff and PDFs of books and stuff. It's amazing, and I love it. But on the other hand, God dang it, don't be intellectually lazy. Read. People be asking me on Twitter, what is your conception of ontology and how do you respond to the epistemic crisis that has been generated as a result of the philosophy's change from linguistic to post-linguistic. In 140 characters? That's what you want? Read my book. And then I come back with 5 books I done wrote, have written, done wrote. They mad, like, what I know that, but I just want to know what you know. No, read it. That's why I wrote it. So you can read it. I feel like Bill Cosby now. So I can do it. And the people. So I'm saying I challenge young people, develop your skills. Think rationally and critically. You're so brilliant. You're so amazing. You do things at such lightning speed, but sometimes you got to slow down and live with something for a minute. And I think when we do, we get a bigger sense of history. I don't want to be stasis against change. I think it's important for young people to challenge old people like me. But I think it's important for young people to listen and to respect and understand that some people fought for you to be able for you to call me a sellout. Some people shed blood for you to be able to do what you do, and there ought to be some acknowledgement of what their contribution, especially a guy like Jesse Jackson or John Lewis or Eleanor Holmes Norton. These people are heroic. Still changing. Jesse Jackson's working on Silicon Valley. John Lewis is writing comic books and graphic novels to reach a young generation. So they're trying the best they can, and I think we should meet them halfway. We young people, we should reach back and try to close that gulf. Okay, I know I'm getting the sign here that I got to hurry up. All right, thank you so much. So we're going to take these last 3, no, y'all can stay there at the mic, but I'm going to be very quick. Young lady, did you have a question? She's your support. That's beautiful. Hey, I didn't have anybody up here with me speaking. I need to do that next time. I like that. That's dig. All right, y'all two real quick. All right, yes, ma'am.
Almost made me forget my question. So I've been social media sick, and a new hashtag today I think was hashtag Terrence Crutcher. And I just want to ask you what you think Blacks and Latinos can do to step away from the phones and get away from the social media and to be more active and mobilizing, or maybe unifying before these type of disasters happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes,
if
ma'am.
that's
No.
too general.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. You know what? I think it's both and. That's a great point. You heard me. Now I was snapping on it. Now I'm going to defend it.
I was ready to snap.
Now I'm going to defend it. Because without social media, civil rights leaders would not have known about or organized around Trayvon Martin. Right? Social media was critical. Put it out there, challenge. People's like, yeah, you writing all that stuff, Dyson, what you saying about Trayvon? Now, sometimes you could use some help in your damn skills. Because if you come at me like that, do you want to be talked to that way? Just because you think I'm famous and I'm trying to be nice, do you have to talk to me like a piece of shit? Can you speak to me with decency and respect? Instead of saying, what you gonna do now? Think about it. You got bad digital breath. I just came up with that. I like that. I like that. Don't steal that yet, okay? Bad digital breath. So treat me like ask me a question. Look, I got a bunch of followers, but I take time to actually answer people's questions. I ain't got no initials because I be answering all my stuff recently. So what I'm saying is that treat people with respect. And the social media realm encourages digital courage and nonsense and hate. So the beauty of the digital space, however, is that it allows us to challenge and be challenged, and to receive those challenges with respect and decency, and to move forward and to think. And I've been challenged several times and had to rethink and talk and grapple with and said, you're right, and let me go back to the drawing board. I think that's extremely important. On the other hand, just because you tweet, you ain't done nothing major. Like, I tweeted today, I feel my social agenda has been fulfilled. No. But I discovered a lot of people who tweet also get out on the streets. A lot of people who Facebook get out on the street. A lot of people who Tinder, okay, that's different. So, a lot of people who Periscope, right? Don't think that it's the spectacle itself. Yo, I was on there and I was tweeting and I was, dropping. Okay, but show up at the rally. Show up at the courthouse. Show up. But a lot of people do. It's a way of organizing. It's a megaphone. In the same way that the mimeograph machine operated, Twitter does today. So I don't want to demonize Twitter at that level if it becomes a means toward an end. And I think that, but it is sometimes, some of us get caught up in that digital space as if that's the be-all and end-all. And we think when we've acted there, we've acted. No, there's something beyond that we need to do. So I agree with you. And I want to answer this. I didn't hear you ask this, but I could feel the frustration in your voice. I could feel the terror, feel the pain. You know, sometimes when I look at it, I wonder, will white brothers and sisters ever understand what we go through when we see yet another black man basically lynched, shot? Always excuses for why it might occur. It wears your soul out. It is wearying. It is depressing. What Weber called world weariness. It sucks life from the body. It leads to inordinate levels of frustration and hurt and pain and trauma and grief. And so we must support and love and nurture each other in the belief that this democracy will one day be made whole if we continue to act even though we are tired. And it is wearying to be sure, but we must affirm the value and the beauty of that struggle in the face of such manifest evil and ask our white brothers and sisters and others to join us, to put yourself in our positions, to imagine the young lady who asked about white saviors. Show up with Black Lives Matter shirts. Support Colin Kaepernick. Be willing to be courageous in white spaces where it might cost you. Justin Timberlake is great as long as it doesn't cost him. Mm-hmm. The moment it cost him, it's like, hey, I'm not black, I just play one on record. Mm-hmm. Right? And gets defensive. Mark Jacobs can appropriate candy-colored dreadlocks. But when he gets called on it as a white liberal, then it gets nasty. Mm-hmm. Hey, what about black women who wear straight hair? Caucasian ain't the only one that got straight hair, homie. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm just saying. So we're asking for white brothers and sisters to have a level of deep and profound political empathy so that they put themselves in our position so they know what it is we confront. You didn't ask that, but you allowed me to ask that because of the level of pain and frustration you may feel that I feel with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Bow to the people.
And the final question is...
Okay, with women of color being such a targeted group in America today, and us having to wait through the women's suffrage movement and through the civil rights movement, and modern day thinking that, you know, we were fighting along our brothers in the Black Lives Matter movement, and then we have Sandra Bland and Corin Gaines and hundreds of other women that I couldn't even tell you the names of because they're not covered. Do you see us having to wait again in this movement, or do you see progress more so than with the past two?
Well, the fact that you asked that, thank you, first of all. Beautiful. The fact that you asked that lets us know you ain't waiting. See, you might write the female version of Dr. King, Why We Cannot Wait. I'm going to start it off for you. Why we cannot wait, right? And we have to say this both to the larger feminist movement and to the larger black freedom struggle movement. Now, I think Black Lives Matter has done a better job. You can tell me better. I think they've at least done a better job of trying to deal with gender and queer politics. A lot better than we did, right, in my generation, and then the generation ahead of me, the civil rights generation. Where's that behind? I can't, So that generation wasn't trying to hear it, wait till we get this civil rights thing worked out, then you could deal with the feminist thing. That ain't gonna never happen. This ain't gonna never get right. So why women gotta wait? And women are suffering simultaneously at the same time, even worse, right? Just as many black women are being kicked, young black girls are being kicked out of school as black boys. But we have my brother's keeper. What about my sister's keeper? They getting dogged too. So, no, you cannot wait. You cannot wait. The time is now. The time is already right to do the right thing. And women are central to the definition of this issue. Hundreds of black women have been victimized. We don't talk about them to the same degree, with the same impetus, with the same energy, with the same insight. Simultaneous to our situation as black people, it is defined in part by our reference to black women and to women of color. So yes, we must confront it, and you must insist that your issues should be taken up not just by women, but by the entire community. It's not a woman thing, right? Black men should be concerned about what hurts black women. Black children ought to be on all of our agendas. So no, I think I am encouraged, I hope you are too, but by what I see among young people, your generation far better, but you got to continue to challenge, hold their feet to the fire. This is not a patriarchal movement. This is not a parade for the male ego. This is about the equality of communities of color that include disproportionate numbers of women, and their issues are our issues as well. Okay? All right, thank you.